Hello, a greeting of sorts for the Making Kayfabe podcast. Isn't that nice? Yes. Yes. Apparently, this podcast of sorts rebook wrestling's biggest mistakes, such as any time Danhausen loses. Maybe they could rebook Danhausen not being number one in Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 500. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes. Anyways, Danhausen is here to tell you to maybe check this out when it is available. They can fix all of the Danhausen's errors, not on Danhausen's own part, that were just caused to him. And yes, Danhausen's just here to tell you have a very nice, very evil time. And, yes, most importantly, love that Danhausen.
Hey, guess what? It's time for Making Kayfabe with your hosts, Bryce and Dylan.
Hello, Kayfabers. It's Bryce and Dylan here, your good buddies, and we are here to make a little kayfabe. Every week, we take a glorified missed opportunity in wrestling and rebook it to make it not that way. And boy, do I have a glorified missed opportunity for you all this week. Hey Dylan, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you very much for asking. You're so sweet.
I'm glad to hear that. That's fantastic. So, like, full cards on the table. I wasn't originally planning to do this episode this week. This week I was planning on covering an icon and a legend in the business of pro wrestling. Dylan, you know who that is. Mm-hmm. Those of you listening will find out who that is in 2 weeks. But I simply couldn't avoid writing this episode up due to very recent events. See, I was always planning on doing a rebooking of Otis after winning Money in the Bank, because WWE they kind of treated him like a joke, and while he is like a comedy-esque character, the Money in the Bank briefcase shouldn't be a comedy prop. It's something that should make superstars. So my idea was to suggest that while Otis has the contract, here are some ways that you can book him as a legitimate threat, so that when his championship match comes for the Universal or WWE Championship or whatever it is, he could be ready. But then, to my horror, a couple of weeks ago now, Otis lost the Money in the Bank briefcase to the fucking Miz. Now, Dylan, famously between you and I, you fucking hate the Miz.
Yes.
He's like your least favourite wrestler of all time, right?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, well, it's tricky nowadays because I think Joey Janela is a worse wrestler than The Miz.
Oh my god, Joey Janela, that's a new one for me, really?
Yeah, oh god, yeah, he's terrible. And I really didn't think that anybody would be considered worse than The Miz in my eyes, but yet, Joey Janela, he's catching up, man. He is not good. But to keep it on track, yes, my dislike for The Miz is semi-legendary amongst our group of friends because I think he's terrible. And like a couple of years ago, he did a promo on like Talking Smack, and everybody was like, "Wow, look at that impassioned promo by The Miz. That's really good."
The one with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, you remember this, right?
I love that promo.
Right about then, the tide turned. People used to hate The Miz too because he was useless, and then that promo happened. And like a wave of people, so many people were like, "Wow, The Miz is great." And I'm like, whoa. Wait.
Slow down there.
Cutting one promo after being in that company for 10 years.
After headlining WrestleMania.
Right. You would expect him to have been able to cut a good promo years before this. This is in like 2016. So he'd been in the company for 10 years. And they were like, "Wow, he's great." I'm like, "You think that's great?" We've had to see this guy been pushed down our throats for 10 years, and he's not been good. And suddenly he cuts one promo, and everything's changed. I don't think so. Like, what the fuck?
It was a very good promo,
right?
And the guy clearly has charisma. I agree with you in a sense that he's not. I couldn't like tell you my favorite Miz match. Like, and I probably watched hundreds, but I can't think of any match involving The Miz I've enjoyed. But his promo ability is very good, and like that's a major part of what makes a superstar.
Right, but like that's what I mean. You said you've watched hundreds of Miz matches, right? Because they keep pushing him. They put him on TV even when he sucked. They put him on TV even when he was just not, anywhere close to being good. Right? People complain about John Cena or Roman Reigns getting a push. Those guys were good. They were really good at what they did. Yeah. The Miz had exactly the same push. He didn't improve for a fucking long ass time. And they kept pushing. And they were like, no, The Miz, because they wanted a homegrown fucking superstar. And everybody fell for it. They were like, that's our guy. The Miz.
Do you remember when they tried to make him Ric Flair?
And he did that shitty looking figure four.
When he was a face, and he's just like, the guy's not a face. he's so naturally detestable, which is a good thing, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. He's not a heel either because he shouldn't be a wrestler. He's the kind of guy who could be a great bank manager. Like, fuck this guy. He could manage the hell out of a bank because he's such an asshole. He'd make that company a lot of money, right? But instead he decided to be a wrestler, and nobody buys it because he doesn't look like a wrestler. He looks like me. I look like you. If you put me and The Miz beside each other in trucks, you'd be like, I don't know which one's a wrestler. Neither of them. Just stay at both of them, right? I don't like The Miz.
So Otis, I like. So yeah, I don't really watch a whole lot of WWE these days. Like, generally for me, for like main roster WWE, it is like exactly how I found out about the Miz's promo. It's like clips on Reddit or social media or something. That's how I know current day WWE mostly. I'll watch pay-per-views, I'll watch like the occasional Raw, but generally I'm kind of like AEW, NXT these days. NXT, which is WWE, but it's not really. In regards to NXT, I watched that. I was dedicated to that, like specifically a couple of years back when Otis was there, and I just really enjoyed the guy. I thought he was different. He stood out. He had that kind of certain charisma you don't see very often. Like the fans just kind of gravitated towards him, and like he also had a really interesting look as well. Like he's basically built like a fridge, like a wrecking ball, like whatever you want, like, which is like a big plus too, because you don't want a roster of dudes who look exactly the same. And I did just a sidebar on that as well. I was listening to the Bryan and Vinny show a few weeks ago, and Vinny was talking about a girl called Layla Hirsch, who was recently she was on AEW Dynamite. I think she was fighting not Hikaru Shida, Serena Deeb, and like Hirsch she's really short. Like she's a lot shorter than you'd expect maybe, and like a damn fine wrestler as well, by the way, but she kind of stands out because she's so short. She's maybe like the height of the top rope, basically. But Vinny kind of compared it to, like, he also saw an advertisement for Raw that day, which featured 6 tall, tanned, blonde women who look exactly the same. So you need different. In regards to like Otis looking different and being that kind of like different body shape that you don't normally see in WWE. Otherwise, you'd have like 50 indistinguishable like Randy Ortons walking around WWE. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Should I catch everyone up on Otis's history? Should we go into this?
Yeah, dude, I'm really interested, man. I like him too. I like the tag team. I don't know why the fuck they split them up. Oh, I remember why, because it's the WWE and they fuck everything up, man. They were a great tag team, and at the moment they need more tag teams, and they're like, no, fucking break them up for no reason.
Yeah, literally put them in different brands and then do the heel turn, and then like, I've got something to say on that in a little bit about where that kind of went at the recording of this episode, anyway. So I'll do a little catch up on Otis just to get a little bit of history in there. So Otis made his in-ring debut in 2015 after being trained by the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. Quick note, debut to Money in the Bank victory in 5 years. Pretty damn impressive. He would go by the name Dozer on the independent circuit before being recruited for a WWE tryout by Jared Briscoe in 2016. He actually made a brief appearance on WWE's Breaking Ground docuseries, which focuses on like up-and-coming wrestlers in the Performance Center. It was episode 2, to be exact. What happened on it was he completely like flubbed a promo in front of William Regal and Robbie Brookside in his WWE tryout, but then redeemed himself by doing the worm. Wow. As you expect, it's a fairly common tactic. Like, the amount of times I've warned myself out of situations, man, like shit, like.
I've seen you do the worm. It is spectacular.
Oh, it's pretty impressive. Like, and no matter what happens before, all you remember is the worm. So, yeah. But later that year, he formed a tag team with Tucker Knight, who, as a tag team, went under the name Heavy Machinery. They entered the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, where they got eliminated immediately by Austin Aries and Roderick Strong. For a while, they were just kind of there in NXT, not really doing many things of note. In 2017, they had a brief feud with the Authors of Pain over the NXT Tag Team Championship, but they didn't win. And later that year, they also had a feud with Society, again over the tag team championships, but they didn't win that either. Interesting though, they did start to become more and more popular as time went on, probably mainly due to Otis's charisma. Like, nothing against Tucky, but Otis was clearly the Shawn Michaels of that team, which is very weird to say, because he's nothing like Shawn Michaels. But anyway, he had bags of charisma, and the fans loved seeing him week after week. And in 2017, Pro Wrestling Illustrated named Otis Dozovich as the Rookie of the Year. So clearly saw big things for him. They would continue being a somewhat background tag team at NXT for another 2 years, appearing on TV every now and then. One thing of note, Otis actually had a televised singles match against Tommaso Ciampa in September 2018, until 2019, where they were called up to the main roster, where they basically continued being a somewhat background tag team. They just competed in like multi-man kind of tag team matches in SmackDown for a long time, but yeah, Otis's charisma, it kept the fans coming back for more, and the pops he got when he was coming out got bigger and bigger. Then the Mandy Rose storyline happens, with Otis having a big old crush on Mandy Rose. Not that anyone can blame him. It's recent history now that on the Valentine's Day edition of SmackDown, February 14th, 2020, Otis had a date scheduled with Mandy Rose, but dirty bastard Dolph Ziggler got in there first. It was, of course, later revealed that Mandy's best friend, Sonya Deville, was working with Ziggler to set him up with Mandy, because that's what best friends do. It led to a match between Otis and Ziggler at WrestleMania 36 in front of a packed crowd of 0, where Otis won and got a big snog from Mandy Rose after the match. Well done, son. In May, at Money in the Bank 2020, Otis would win the Money in the Bank match. This was the one that was held within the WWE headquarters in Connecticut, literally inside the office, and then had the ring on the roof of the building. Nearing the end of the match, AJ Styles and Baron Corbin were fighting for the briefcase at the top of the ladder. Corbin would be hit in the back with a guitar, hello Elias, causing him to bump into Styles, who fumbled the briefcase and dropped it into the hands of our beloved Otis. Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank. Then Otis would do not much. Like, he literally did fuck all of note for the longest time. In September, he and Tucky started a feud with Miz, your man, and John Morrison. In fact, what do you think of John Morrison, out of interest?
I fucking love John Morrison. I'm so annoyed that they paired him with The Miz. John Morrison is so good. Like, this is what blows my mind, dude. If you look at John Morrison, right? Fucking rip the shit. He's a great. He's a great heel right there. That guy is really athletic. He moves around the ring like nobody else. You watch him wrestle, right? Nobody moves around the ring the way John Morrison does, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you look at him and then at The Miz and go, The Miz is our guy?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. That's
You watching a tag team match with John Morrison and The Miz must be the most frustrating thing in the world for you. It's someone you actually enjoy and someone you actively hate. But
that's the thing. It gets to the point now where I'm like, I didn't mind the fact that The Miz won the Money in the Bank briefcase, because it meant that John Morrison is going to be on TV more because he's always around The Miz. You got to look at the bright side of life. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It could be something good in the future for Morrison as well. Maybe he'll win the briefcase or something. But
that's what I really want to happen. Is that what happens in your story?
No, it's not. So Miz and Morrison initially stole Otis's Money in the Bank briefcase before it was revealed that the contract wasn't actually inside the briefcase. It was in Otis's lunchbox. They had a mini storyline going on where Otis was taken to court by Miz and Morrison, which was kind of dumb. And it led to a match at Hell in the Cell on October 25th, 2020, which at the time of recording was last week. This is where Otis lost his Money in the Bank briefcase to The Miz in a 7-minute long match where Otis's tag team partner, Tucker Knight, turned heel and cost him the match. Later that week, or this week, it's really hard to talk about this because the episode's going to go out in 2 weeks' time, but later this week, to show you exactly what big plans WWE had for Tucker Knight following the big heel turn, he never appeared or was mentioned on Raw and jobbed to Humberto Carrillo on Main Event, WWE's B show. Fuck me.
Yeah.
WWE. Dave Meltzer, in the November 2nd, 2020 Wrestling Observer newsletter, he would comment on the briefcase change and generally Otis's position on the roster, writing, "The reality is that the briefcase on Otis had a booking problem. It's okay for a heel to be embarrassed to blow the nearly automatic title win, or a face like John Cena who is established. But Otis failing, especially with Reigns as champion, does him no good. And while he could beat Reigns and they could make a star, nothing they do right now indicates that direction. And in a sense, he's right. Like, they could have made a star out of Otis, but they barely gave him a shot, dropping him like a bad habit, basically, as soon as he won the biggest match of his career. Otis is so now he's no longer Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and 6 months of what could have been used for sensible storytelling and building his character up have been wasted, and that annoyed me. So I'm gonna rebook Otis post Money in the Bank win. Like, do you want to say anything about Otis before I go into the whole rebooking?
No, I'm looking forward to this, man. Like I said, I do like him. I think yeah, you're right. He has a lot of charisma. You know, he's fun to watch. So yeah, I think they kind of did a disservice to him by not doing anything with him like this. So I'd be interested to see what you've got planned for him.
All right, so here we go. This is how I would book Otis Dozovic and make him a legitimate threat for a WWE Championship match. So straight up, I'm not going to change anything about how Otis won Money in the Bank. It's a very kind of like low TNA thing for the briefcase to literally fall into his hands, but we'll roll with it. It's a comedy moment, and at the time, he was a purely comedy character that the fans were getting behind, and it serves as a good start for my story anyway. So as it stands, Otis has just won Money in the Bank. On the next SmackDown, doubt starts to rise about Otis's ability. So everyone knows exactly how he won Money in the Bank. As mentioned earlier, it was AJ Styles and Baron Corbin fighting in the top of the ladder, where the briefcase kind of just fell into the arms of Otis. So essentially, it was a fluke. Of course, Otis still had to be in the right place at the right time. He still had to fight up WWE headquarters to get there, but it's pretty clear to everybody that he wasn't likely to win that match. So yeah, total fluke. It's kind of the sense of what's going on. So to kick things off, what I'd do is have Otis take on everybody in the Money in the Bank match. So 1-on-1, every one of them. So that's your AJ Styles, that's Aleister Black, that's Daniel Bryan, it's King Corbin, and it's Rey Mysterio. It's a six-way match. So you can have all of these matches on weekly television, the 1-on-1 matches, week after week, and you're going to make them hard-fought bouts, but Otis is going to lose clean in every damn one of them. Basically proving that the Otis comedy character just isn't in the same league as these guys. Like I say, you make them look good and you don't make them like complete squashes, like a 2-minute squash or whatever. But the point you're trying to get across is it's a complete stroke of luck that Otis ended up with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Like he's won it, but now he's like immediately on a 5-match losing streak. So I know what you're thinking, like, send him on a losing streak. Great idea, Bryce. He'll be a main eventer in no time. Bear with me, because there's a method to this madness. So here's the question that needs answering. Like, how do you turn comedy Otis into legitimate threat Otis? Because in his current character, like, he's not going to be a credible threat for any champion. Could you imagine, like, comedy Otis, like, putting up a legitimate fight or being involved in a compelling feud with someone like Braun Strowman or heel Roman Reigns right now when he's fighting the Usos? Like, I can't. Like, he's basically, his character at the moment, as much as I hate to say it, his character at the moment is a ball head away from becoming one of those geeks chasing the 24/7 title. The way he's going. So yeah, we need to, like, if do you agree with that sentiment? Like,
totally. Like, once you said that, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what's going to happen to that guy.
Yeah, literally. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this episode is released, he is chasing around the 24/7 championship. It'd be quite funny if it was, actually, but we'll see. We're recording this on November 2nd, and this is going to be released on November 10th. So, like, we'll see kind of what happens between this time we're recording and the actual episode launch. But hey, we need to legitimize Otis Dozovic. Because Otis, he needs help. He needs big help. Like, the guy's got the Money in the Bank briefcase at the moment in my storyline, back into my storyline, sorry. And yeah, he's not even a year into his WWE main roster career. He's now on, a pretty damning losing streak after losing to those 5 guys he was in the match with. Like, he's way out of his depth. So what do we do about that? So here's what I've got in mind. One thing I want to highlight here, and one thing I'm genuinely surprised WWE have done such a poor job of highlighting, is that Otis is legitimate. Like legitimately legitimate. Like, out of interest, do you know what Otis was doing before pro wrestling?
He was a lumberjack.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't a lumberjack. No,
I mean,
but that's
you can see him being a lumberjack though. That makes sense, right?
yeah. He's got big arms. Like I suppose you could see that. It would get the kind of the flannel on, but no, like, and I'm not surprised you don't know because WWE have done such a poor job of highlighting it. So Otis Dozovich was a Greco-Roman amateur wrestler, an accomplished one. Like, humor me here. Listen to this. 2-time USA Wrestling Cadet All-American, 2007 FILA Cadet Greco-Roman National Champion, 3-time USA Wrestling Junior All-American, 2009 USA Wrestling Junior Greco-Roman National Champion, 2010 Wisconsin State Champion, undefeated 48-0 senior record. 2010 ranked number 13 in Wrestling USA Magazine's Best High School Wrestlers. Superior High School's all-time leader in wins, 135 wins. 2014 Team USA Greco-Roman roster member. 2014 bronze medal at the Pan American Games in Mexico. At one time, he was even a prospect for the 2012 Olympics. He was actually inside a legitimate Olympic training center, so, he learned from the best. He was the real fucking deal. He is the real fucking deal. Like, why has this never been mentioned? Why is this never mentioned? Why is he a comedy character? Like, can you imagine like Brock Lesnar being burdened with a comedy gimmick that Otis had, like, or Ken Shamrock? Like, it's unbelievable. And like
that is crazy that you just listed off that entire list of attributes. I'm like, holy shit, dude! Like, that guy can actually wrestle. Like, let's see that fucking stuff. Like, it's good that as a comedy character he can show off his own personality, but also like, this is wrestling. Let's see that fucking guy wrestle,
Exactly. Like, he's doing the caterpillar move. He's doing like elbow drops. Like, why the fuck isn't he on the mat and like doing amateur shit? But hey, like, basically the fact that he is so accomplished in amateur wrestling makes sense too, because the guy is a fucking fridge. Like, you can look it up online. Actually, there's videos of him out there dominating in amateur wrestling tournaments in the 120 kilogram weight class, which, by the way, that weight class for a guy of his height is terrifying to me. Like, he's 5'7" and 120 kilograms. I'm 6'4" and 100 kilograms. So like, that's insane to me. But yeah, like, under his real name, Niko Bogojevic, he was fucking dominating, and it's completely bizarre to me that the WWE have done fuck all with that. They've got a legitimate badass athlete, and they're not portraying him as a legitimate badass athlete. He's a comedy character. Like, what's with that? So yeah, it's crazy. Like, so now I'm gonna reach a bit here, but I feel like what I'm about to suggest is something that was completely within WWE's power to do, and like something that could immediately help legitimize a complete makeover for Dozovich. So what I've got planned is you call upon a WWE Hall of Famer to manage Otis, to be his guide to the top. You pair him with a guy who's won WWE championships, he's played that legitimate role in professional wrestling, and who also happens to have an exceedingly strong amateur background too. In fact, he won a gold medal with a broken neck. You bring in Kurt freaking Angle as his manager. And that might seem like an oddball pairing, but if WWE stuck to it, like, they could make it work, and I'll go into how you do that, but there've been plenty of oddball pairings in the past that have worked fine. Jimmy Hart and Hulk Hogan was an oddball pairing. Bill Alfonso and your boy Taz, maybe, like Armando Estrada and Umaga, like, the list goes on. So that's what we're going to do. Kurt Angle is going to manage Otis Dozovich, and it's going to make sense. So the first thing Kurt does is a full dressing down of his new project. So he notices immediately that Otis is not playing to his strengths. Like, where's his ground game? He's a Greco-Roman amateur wrestler. The caterpillar move he does, the elbow drops, the gyrating he does in the ring, like, that's not his strength. Like, Greco-Roman wrestling is his strength. He's damn good at it in real life, which, in a wrestling sense, means that he's going to have the natural ability to make it look legitimate as well. So, like, think like Kurt Angle in his early days in WWE, or like Ronda Rousey or Jack Swagger. Like, all three came from like legitimate sporting backgrounds, be it wrestling or MMA, and what they do or did in the ring looked real. Like, this is what we're going to mold Otis into. So we're going to get Otis out of the ring for a while. You know, he's not going to be appearing in front of a live audience until he's ready. So you start showing weekly training videos. I'm talking like a 60-second clips of Otis just being a straight up scary, straight up scary amateur wrestler with Kurt Angle in the background kind of looking on. He'll be dominating guys of all sizes, like getting them in MMA style submission holds and like having them like scream in pain, etc. Like this is pro wrestling, and there's more things legal than amateur wrestling. Have him use his amateur game to get his opponents on the ground, and then you can use these kind of big ham fists like to clobber into the knockout. You know, like he's got huge arms, the guy. Like you just look at him, he's a big dude. So you basically got to hype up this new side of Otis Dozovich. It's going to be tough to fight off the old stigma of the hick comedy character of low intelligence, you know, but if you condition the audience properly, anything is possible. So like you can do this for weeks, you can do it for months if you want, as long as it's consistent every week, you know, Raw and SmackDown, and you're familiarizing the audience with who Otis is now, you know, not who he was, it's who Otis is now. Otis is a fucking badass, and if you're caught laughing at the man he was, Kurt Angle will send him after you and make you regret it. So the vignettes have to end at some point. So when the time is right, you've got to get Otis back in the ring and book him like the monster he is. So the first thing you do is cut any and all possible ties to his previous gimmicks. So Tucky, sorry buddy, but you got to go. Tucky's going to be the first victim of a new improved Otis Dozovich. So, and in fact, like the very first appearance of Otis Dozovich after his intense training videos is going to be in a tag team match with his heavy machinery buddy. Doesn't matter who it's against, say some lower mid-card verging on jobber tag team, like Lucha House Party, why not? But when, like, am I wrong?
Aren't they going for the 24/7 championship too?
Maybe, probably. Like
they are.
By now they might be, so like but when Heavy Machinery make their entrance, like something has clearly changed. So like Tucker Knight is his normal kind of enthusiastic self, but Otis, his eyes might as well be made of stone. Like he slowly walks down to the ring. He's focusing only on the ring. You got Kurt Angle at his side. Like he doesn't high five his partner. He doesn't do his usual kind of theatrics. He just walks to the ring like completely expressionless. Like maybe have Kurt Angle saying like things in his ear as he walks, like giving him tips about what to do and stuff like that, or hyping him up. The bell rings and you have Tucker Knight start the match. And for a while it's a regular tag team match. Like that is until the hot tag where Tucky tags Otis in, and oh my god, it's immediately noticeable how much Otis has changed. So gone is the caterpillar and the theatrical elbow drop. Gone is him trying to get the fans pumped up. You know, in its place, fast takedowns, huge forearms, and like in actual fact, there's no real hot tag to speak of because within seconds, Otis has, Lindsay Dorado on the ground, like mounting him and laying forearm after forearm into his head, his jaw, his neck, his chest, everywhere, just beating the fuck out of him, basically. And it goes on for like an uncomfortable amount of time with the crowd like falling silent, like. In fact, or the video crowd actually, because of COVID-19, like because the fans are controlled, the audio levels of the fans are controlled by WWE. They're in a unique position here where they can literally turn down the crowd noise completely to like accentuate the seriousness of the situation. The whole Thunderdome kind of thing. So I notice it's just clubbing away constantly, just ham-fisted him. Soon enough, the referee calls for the bell. The match has been stopped, officially due to KO, knockout, but realistically because Otis is a relentless fucking killer, and it doesn't stop him. You've got the bell ringing in the background when he's still like pummeling away on poor Lindsay Dorado. Like you remember in the Attitude Era where the bell ringing in the background like consistently made everything seem like 100 times more chaotic. Like you had the bell just going bam, 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 like that. So like. That's what you're doing here, and like you've got Dorado's tag team partner Grand Metalik. He's like clubbing away at the back of Otis, like trying to get him off. You've got Tucky trying to pull Otis off Dorado to no success, and you've got Kurt Angle standing in the corner of the ring, smirking, like, all the while where Otis is still elbowing and forearming his opponent. Tucky looks back to Kurt, who the cameras pick him up, saying, "Hey fellas," he stops when he wants to. Eventually, Otis stops. Dorado's taken out the ring by Metalik, which leaves Otis, Tucky, and Angle in the ring. Tucky is, he's shocked. He's utterly appalled. He can't believe what he's just seen his best friend do. Otis, meanwhile, is still expressionless. No, it's definitely not the Otis of old. He's not reacting in any way whatsoever to the situation. And Tucker Knight is pushing Otis, in a kind of like, what the fuck was that kind of way. It doesn't take long for Otis to snap from that. And now he's beating the shit out of Tucky. And, it's a brutal beating. Perhaps even more than the one he gave to Rado. Make him do the full works. Take him out the ring and, run him into the stairs. Take the ringside mats away and slam him into the concrete, announcer's table, ring post, everything you can think of. While Kurt Angle spingles on in the corner. So Otis Dozovich is beating 7 shades of shit out of his best friend, or a former best friend, Tucker Knight. Then you've got Otis back in the ring after the assault, and Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle with a microphone. So Kurt Angle addresses the audience in the WWE roster, and I've written a wee promo from here. So Kurt Angle says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kurt Angle, and I would like to introduce you to the new Otis Dozovich. The Otis you knew is gone. The theatrics, the laughter, the tomfoolery are no more. What you see before you is an ice-cold killer who will not align himself with losers like you, Tucker Knight. The beating you've received tonight was given with a dose of mercy. Otis remembers the friendship you had, and I can tell that had him pulling his punches tonight." Obviously he's beating the fucking shit out of Tucker, but yeah, he's pulling his punches. "But the beating Otis will give to the members of the WWE roster will show no freaking mercy whatsoever. WWE, be warned, for ye stand within the line of fire, and you're about to be mowed down by the rocket launcher, which is Otis Dozovich." It's true, it's damn true. And hit the music kind of thing. So now you've got to send him on a rampage. You can't leave one shred of doubt that Otis is the same man of low-level intelligence, who's frolicking around aimlessly with Tucky and heavy machinery. It needs a mission, and I've got the perfect mission for him. So, calling back to remember how Otis lost in one-on-one matches to everybody he was in the Money in the Bank match with? Mm-hmm. Well, while Otis has been training and molding his character into, a fucking beast, all of these men have actually received Universal Championship matches since it was deemed that they were better than the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and maybe because of that alone, should have won the Money in the Bank match if it wasn't for the fluke. Now, in this storyline, none of them succeeded, and we still have Braun Strowman as the Universal Champion, but now you've got to properly showcase the new Otis. So, you've probably guessed it by now, and by the way, isn't booking easy when it makes sense. But yeah, we're going to have Otis run through every single one of the men who he was in that Money in the Bank match with. Every single one of the men who beat him soon after when he wasn't using his amateur wrestling training and earned a title shot because of it. So you haven't run through everybody. So you get Otis versus Aleister Black. Alistair's trying his whole martial arts based offense, but it's not working because every time he throws a kick or a punch, Otis grabs the limb and gets Black on the ground in some form of submission. Otis beats Aleister Black. You get Otis versus Rey Mysterio. Mysterio tries all these high-flying kind of offense, but Otis has such a strong base, low center of gravity, that he can't be taken down by Hurricane Ramas, drop kicks, crossbodies, etc. Eventually, Otis just gets Rey in the ground, and he's too damn heavy for Rey to escape, so Otis beats Rey Mysterio. You've got Otis versus King Corbin. And fuck King Corbin. He's treated like a jobber anyway. Otis steamrolls him. He beats Corbin. Maybe Baron Corbin's a Making Kayfabe episode in the future, but he ain't this week. Otis versus AJ Styles. Kind of moving up the card here. So this match, it does test him a little bit more. And what we're going to display here is Otis's cardio. I'd have Otis go a full kind of 20-25 minutes in Styles until eventually Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm, kind of the springboard forearm smash. But Otis dodges it, catches Styles by the arm, and pulls him into some form of armbar or Kimura. Otis beats AJ Styles. And finally, you have Otis versus Daniel Bryan. Otis's final test, if you will. This is the 5th out of 5th guy that he is facing after his new character kind of debuted. So, and Daniel Bryan too has a very strong submission game. So that's the match you have. I'd put this in a pay-per-view and I'd make it, an ultimate submission match, the match with a 30-minute time limit where you've got to make your opponent submit as many times as possible within that time. Gimmick matches create intrigue, and when used right, they'll be successful at elevating a wrestler, which is what will happen with Otis, because he's going to beat a submission specialist in a submission based match. This shit isn't hard. Otis beats Daniel Bryan. So like all the while during these matches as well, you've got Kurt Angle at ringside kind of barking instructions at Otis, and like, of course, like Kurt's faced every single type of wrestler there is, in a 20-year career, so he knows exactly what to expect, especially against guys like Styles and Mysterio, who he's wrestled before. Styles in Impact and Mysterio many times in WWE. One of my favorite matches of all time was Kurt Angle and Mysterio at SummerSlam. So yeah, there's a wee fun fact. But yeah, he knows how to beat these wrestlers. He's he's invaluable to Otis at ringside. He's a perfect coach. But there you go. Like, Otis is he's got his revenge on everybody who embarrassed him by defeating him from the Money in the Bank match. And it's not even revenge. Like, Otis is showcased like he is not, old comedic Otis. Like, now you've got a killer. And like, real talk, like, WWE hasn't had many guys like Otis in like a feature position. Like, to my knowledge, like, they haven't properly pushed a wrestler with this kind of low center of gravity and the weight that Otis does. Like, the guy's a fucking wrecking ball. He's a fridge. Like, he's a new threat to the WWE. And the scary thing is, he knows it. So then you've got Otis Dozovic versus Braun Strowman match looming. So Strowman's been dominant. He's been fending off challengers. The aforementioned, he's beaten Styles, Black, Mysterio, Corbin, and Bryan, who've all challenged him for the championship. And it's only a matter of time until Otis has reached his peak, and he's going to challenge Braun for the Universal Championship. So how do we legitimize this feud and see Otis as a real threat to Braun Strowman? So like, Otis is not as tall as Braun. Like, Otis is only 5'10". He's like 5'10". I think I said 5'7" earlier. He's 5'10". But Braun, meanwhile, is verging on 7 feet. He's billed at 6'8", I believe. So, but let me tell you, like, we know now that it doesn't matter what height Otis' opponent is. When they're on the ground, when they're on their back, it doesn't come into it. Height doesn't come into it. And you've got Otis's like tree trunk arms around your waist and like a clinch, And besides, there's plenty of examples of wrestlers who have proven that you don't need height to be a successful brawler in any company. Like, I'm thinking your boy Taz, I'm thinking Rhino. To take it a bit more to the recent day, Tomohiro Ishii from New Japan, who is he's literally only 5'7", but fuck me, I don't know if you've seen any Ishii matches, matches. His matches are absolutely wars. Like, whether he's fighting someone his own size or whether he's fighting somebody much taller like an Okada or a Moxley. So and going back to Otis, like, what we're forgetting. The crucial thing we're forgetting that I intentionally didn't mention too many times in my pitch. The guy's got the fucking Money in the Bank briefcase. Like, he doesn't need to book a match against a healthy Braun Strowman. Like, no, he can come in full force, full strength, and ready for a fight. Well, you've got Braun Strowman like exhausted after a 20-minute match. Like, even on a regular day, if you're going up against like Big Fridge Otis, you're not gonna have an easy night. But if you're exhausted, like gasping for air, and you see this mountain of a man running down the entrance ramp, like fresh as a daisy, focused on kicking your ass and taking your title, you've got a smallest chance in hell of making it out alive, let alone with something like a Universal Championship. And that's exactly what you do. You spend all these months building Otis up as a silent killer with, legendary Kurt Angle by his side to, give him some prestige. Otis is a guy who, once he has you in the mat, he makes you his victim. And then whenever the hell you want, whenever you think he's ready, and it's time to pull the trigger on his main event run, you send him out there after a Universal Championship match to pick up the scraps. And you can imagine like the audience's reaction when Otis's music hits and you've got a focused Kurt Angle shouting and screaming at Otis when he's making his way down to the ring, briefcase in hands. And that's it. That's how you make Otis Dozovic a legitimate threat in WWE, and how you could have made $1 million out of the crappy storyline they did do with him. So yeah, that's how you do it. That is how you legitimize Otis Dozovic in WWE.
Well, it sounds like you really made some kayfabe right there.
Kayfabe has been made.
You definitely did. I gotta say, I liked. There's a lot going on in that storyline, which I liked. I liked. What I really liked about that was the angle you did. No pun intended.
The angle of angle.
Yeah, well, I did like that too. But the bit where like right after he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, he fights all the other guys in the match. and he loses, and it shows you that he's not ready for it.
Yeah.
Like that's really clever, right? I think that's really clever. And the fact that, he goes back to fight them all again and he beats them is smart storytelling. It's the way it should be. The Kurt Angle thing makes sense because, they're both amateur wrestlers. It all ties together. It all makes sense,
And you can actually see it happening as well because Otis, put him back in his amateur singlet or something, and just it's so easy to imagine a guy like that taking you down. Like a guy with that low center of gravity, with that weight. I've done a bit of amateur wrestling myself, and when you're going up against a much heavier guy, it's damn near impossible to get anything done. I wasn't exactly very good at amateur wrestling, but yeah, it's impossible because it's a lot of weight on you. Like if this guy gets you down to the ground, you're gonna have a very hard time pushing him off you because it's much harder to defend in amateur wrestling than it is to attack. So when he's got his arms wrapped around you, you're screwed. You can't move. You're just you're gonna exhaust yourself. You're gonna use up all your cardio, and that's you done. And then it's easy for him to pull you into submission or to pin you or whatever comes next. So that is that is it's believable, I think, and it's something they should have done. If they're gonna make a star out of him, because I don't think you're gonna. As much as I do like comedy Otis, and as much as I have kind of gravitated towards him as one of I suppose one of my modern day kind of favorites, just because he is hilarious, and that El Grande Gordo he done on Raw recently, which is quite funny, but it's not a main event gimmick, and he needed something else, and I think he has something else. I think he has that star quality, he has that unique look, he has that unique size, he has clearly the ability to appear legitimate on WWE TV, and if you put someone like Kurt Angle by his side, that helps legitimize him, helps add prestige to his character, and it could have been done, man. It certainly could have been done, and it just wasn't. And now, who knows what's happening with Otis Dozovic? Not much in TV as we are recording this. So he's 24/7 championship.
Give it time, man. They're planning something special for that guy. You can put your money on him.
I'm gonna make a bet here. So by the end of the year, Otis Dozovic will win the 24/7 championship. I am certain of that. So this is November 11th. This is November 2nd. Sorry, we're releasing this on the 10th. So by the end of the year, I bet that Otis Dozovic will win the 24/7 championship. He will become one of those geeks, and I'll be very sad.
I predict that by the time this episode goes up, he will have won the 24/7.
Oh really? Oh, nice. Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch Raw this week.
You really don't.
No, I don't. I can watch the highlights. That is how you. That's how you make Otis Dozovic. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's something.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's something I wanted to do for a while. Just now is the perfect time. Just after he's lost the briefcase, since it's clearly not going to happen anymore. So, making kayfabe. But how do you feel about transcending into a part of the show we call Kayfabe Tombola? It's that special time of the week where we dive into a little game called Kayfabe Tombola. In this game against the clock, I've come up with 4 random wrestlers and 4 random scenarios. The wrestlers are numbered 1 to 4, and the scenarios are lettered A to D. So Dylan here, a good friend Dylan, hello Dylan, he will give me a number letter combination, so like a 1C or a 4B or a 3A, etc. And with the matching wrestler and scenario, he will have 60 seconds to come up with an entertaining storyline. So, and mate, I'm going to be honest with you, I've outdone myself in this one. I have outdone myself. I was so happy when I came up with this, but so there's some real fun stuff here, man, and some interesting things can come out of these choices. So, without further ado, Dylan, tell me, what is your number letter combination you've got for me?
I would like to go with 4B. No, don't do the evil laugh.
Okay, no, I'm not going to give anything away. So, do you want to know who you could have had?
Please.
So, you could have had the Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get the Big Show.
What a shame.
You could have had Big Daddy V.
Oh,
you didn't get Big Daddy V.
Thank you.
you could have had, and I'm actually quite saddened you didn't get this one because you would have loved it. You could have got Kurgan. But you didn't get him. Who you did get, and I fucking love this, you got the Great Khali. So for situations, what you could have had for situations is the Great Khali loses his memory and thinks he's Triple H. So you've not got that.
Oh, that would have been great.
You could have had the Great Khali hires a limo to take him to the arena, but then gets stuck inside the limo. You didn't get that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had the Great Khali becomes obsessed with trains and incorporates this into his character.
Oh, I wish I got that one, man.
You didn't get that.
Oh, dang it.
You got the Great Khali is cast as the Mummy in the hit movie The Mummy.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's the easiest one.
How's that? But if you can make gold out of it, then yeah, go ahead. But I'm going to get 60 seconds on the clock, so you have approximately 5 seconds to prepare yourself here.
Good.
Are you ready to go?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, so hold on 1 minute, and let's set that on our thingy here. So 60 seconds, 1 minute is on the clock, and I'm going to count you down. You've got 1 minute to tell me all about the Great Khali being cast as the Mummy in the hit movie The Mummy. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, WWE has like their WWE Studios kind of development thing. So WWE Studios, their film company, acquire the rights for the Mummy. So like, right, we can do this. Who could be our Brendan Fraser? I don't know, probably Stone Cold Steve Austin. That'll be fine. But we need a mummy. We need a villain to go up against. Who's really like imposing and tall, but also can't speak a lick of English? Oh, I know. Great Khali, right? And just wrap him up in bandages. Nobody will even know he's from India and not from Egypt. It doesn't fucking matter, right? Stick him in. And he doesn't have to do anything because he's the mummy. The mummy just lies there and then sometimes comes to life. He's just like the big Khali. It's perfect. So then Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in with his cowboy hat and he's like, I'm going to shoot this mummy because he doesn't know how mummies work. He's just going to shoot him. And then the Khali is like, well, but he's actually trying to speak English. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin shoots him in the eye. And then Vince McMahon like turns to the executives and goes, what do you think, pal? And the executives are like, no, this is the worst film of all time.
Time's up. Time's up. Like that actually, like it kind of. I was thinking about this as you were going into that. Like the Great Khali is a movie star, right? He is like a. He has
Hollywood, I think, right?
No, he was in maybe actually, but he was.
He was in like one of those. I think it was called The Longest Yard.
Yes,
right?
Adam Sandler. Yeah, he was.
Have you seen that film?
I have.
Okay, do you know what he did in that film?
He killed a guy or something. I can't remember.
Well, that's real. That was real life.
Oh yeah, he actually did do that in real life. Shit.
That was a poor taste, Bryce. I can't believe that. No, he's just like an extra fucking football player guy. So he just does nothing. He just kind of stands around and looks imposing. So I'm like, well, he'd be perfect for the Mummy.
Yeah, there we go. So
I wouldn't call him a fucking film star by any means.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in films. He's like,
in the background of some fucking.
Just stand there and look scary is basically his role. Like
Kurgan is more of a star.
Kurgan was in Sherlock Holmes, right?
Exactly. He knocked out Robert Downey Jr.
In real life, yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love Kurgan. Like I don't know how many people listening to this remember Kurgan because he was around for a short time, but
we remember
Kurgan.
And
he was a scary dude. Like
we'll never forget Kurgan.
Yeah, I was going to say R.I.P., but he's not dead. He's just not.
R.I.P. Kurgan.
But anyway, like that was Kayfabe Tombola, and another episode's in the bag. So that's 15 episodes now. Like, did you know that? 15 weeks of Kayfabe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, think of all the shite we must have spraffed. but yeah, if you have joined us for the first time and to learn about Otis in the Bank and how it should have turned out, then going by what I said, there's another 14 episodes in our back catalogue that you could download and listen to right now. In Season 2, we've already got rebookings on the Vince McMahon Limo Explosion, the AEW Women's Division, Kane's Unmasking in 2003, Sean O'Hare, Mordecai, and the Sandman. and season 1 has even more. You can follow us on Twitter. We're at Making Kayfabe. You can also email us on your emails. You can find us at Making Kayfabe. What do you email on? Like your phone? Like, you can find us at makingkayfabe@gmail.com. Tweet us, email us. We'd love to hear from you. Get involved in our Twitter account. We've often got cool kind of discussions going on there, and nice little polls you can get involved in. Our most recent one, as a recording of this episode, was who is the most underrated spooky superstar in WWE history, which was won by Papa Shango, believe it or not. So there you go. But yeah, many of us suggestions being brought up by our listeners, which is awesome. Got Gangrel thrown in there. We got Kevin Farmer thrown in there as well. Like, so 2 vampires and not Viscera, but
scary shit, man.
Scary.
Imagine you like there's a knock on your door and you go to open the door, like I wonder who this could be. There's Viscera's just standing there. He can't even fit through the fucking door, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ!
You're safe because you can't fit through the door. Right?
These giant fucking tits are in your face. You're like, oh my god.
That's the 3rd episode in a row we've like talked about Viscera's tits.
But they're in your face. You can't ignore them.
I was editing the last episode, the Sandman, and like we talk about them there, and I think we mentioned them briefly in the Mordecai episode as well. Like they're becoming their own part of the show. But yeah, oh my god, let's not make it 4. But if you haven't already, please go and rate our review. Please go and rate and review our show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. You know, it'll take a minute of your time, and it does mean the world to us. It really helps our podcast grow, which is what we try to do, aside from having fun as well, which we are. It's good fun doing these episodes. And but until then, I'm Bryce, he's Dylan. Collectively, we are Making Kayfabe, and thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye. Fuck the Miz.